Welcome to the podcast where we redefine midlife, perimenopause and menopause as a time to thrive in all areas of our lives. Health, fitness, mindset and mental health, relationships, finances and purpose, with a big dose of style and empowerment and a few laughs thrown into the mix. I'm so excited to have you join me as we dive into today's discussion. I'm all about taking action and giving you light bulb moments and actionable steps to take to keep you moving forward towards the best version of yourself possible. So let's dive in. Hello and welcome to today's podcast. Today we're going to cover off on 3 easy changes that you can make today to kickstart your weight loss journey. Now, this podcast is based on my downloadable guide. And why have I decided to record it into a podcast? Because there'll be a bunch of you that look at the fact that it's 11 pages and it's just too much. And I get it. I am the same as you. And it's so much easier to pop your headphones on or be in the car and listen to me talking and explaining these things to you. And some of you are more oral learners. You hear things and take the information in more effectively than if you read. So sometimes, like me, do you ever read 10 pages of something and get to the end of it and you're like, I don't remember anything at all? So this is for you if you just want to listen to me run you through the guide. And if you want to do both, listen and read, you can go to my website, beckdemoro.com, or at the end of this podcast, you'll find a link to download that guide for yourself. So on that note, let's get into it. Now, the first thing I want to tell you is, why did I make this guide? Well, I predominantly work in the weight loss space. Most of my clients come to see me because they want to lose weight, anywhere between 5 and 20 kilos. And I am working with you, perimenopause and menopausal ladies. Most of my ladies are over the age of 45, so they're sort of the mid to end part of perimenopause, when all of those hormonal fluctuations are really starting to kick in and play havoc with the body that they once knew. And to be honest, that is my story. I've kind of had 2 or 3 different cycles in this process. I'm 51 and a half now. I would classify myself as end stage perimenopause, as in the last 6 months, I've only had maybe 2 or 3 periods. And it's still all over the place. I had one gap that was 76 days. And then the period after that, I got at 28 days. So I'm in that random, at the end of the spectrum of, you need to carry some type of protection with you at all times, because you don't know when your period is going to come. And the signs and signals are very different than they once were when you were in that sort of regular reproductive part of your life. So, I've had 3 very distinct elements, my early 40s, and I'll do a whole other podcast on this, but my early 40s when I was 18 months postpartum, so 42, when I first kind of noticed that I was insulin resistant, I had put weight on, and nothing I did, especially calorie restriction, I'm going to cover in my next podcast, calorie restriction and over-exercise did nothing at all. I must have cut my calories by 400 to 600 calories a day, and I was exercising daily for 1 to 1.5 hours for 4 weeks, nothing. Maybe half a kilo if I was lucky. So that was my first foray into really understanding how hormones play a big role, and not just sex hormones, but all of those other hormones like the satiety hormones, ghrelin and leptin, that, hunger and satiety hormones, how that all started to play a big picture for me as well. And so I reckon the next one was kind of maybe 46, 47, and there was kind of another foray. And then the last 6 months, like perimenopause has been kicking my ass. So anyway, I'm in the trenches with you just because I've, really my whole, focus for my clients is weight loss. Doesn't mean that I don't have the same challenges myself. I'm not one of those Instagram models with a six-pack who seems to have zero issue putting on muscle and staying at like 6% body fat. Sadly, that has never been my story anyway. I've always had to work really hard to maintain my weight. And I would look at a piece of cake and put 3 kilos on. So, but this is a whole nother season. So if you're listening to my podcast, very likely, maybe you don't have the challenges with the weight management, but you're certainly listening to some of the other elements and the other symptoms that we're suffering from. And interestingly, the downstream effects are the same. So for me, maybe my biggest symptom is an inability to manage my weight. But for you, maybe it's like the brain fog or the crazy mood or the bloating or insert list of, 40 symptoms here. The weight management may not be your biggest concern, but all of those symptoms are kind of downstream effects of an upstream problem. And the upstream problem is not just our nutrition, but that certainly is an element. And I'm going to talk about that in more detail on my next podcast. I'm going to sort of dive deep into talking about calorie restriction and macros and micros, all of these buzzwords that we hear. I'm going to talk more about that in detail. But for this episode, I really want to cover off on this guide. And the guide was driven to really help you get started. So many of us are stuck. And if you're in that part of perimenopause like I am, where stress resilience is reduced, tiredness is increased, you can see the changes that are happening in your body. And, if you're a mum like I am and you're trying to manage your family and work and do all of the exercise you're supposed to be doing, your resistance training sessions and your yoga and 10,000 steps a day, it could all feel overwhelming. So I just want to help you take a step back and a little pause, because this guidebook is really simple and they're really easy changes you can make today that will not just kickstart your weight loss journey, but will kickstart you being able to start calming down some of these issues and starting to actually feel better. And some of them are really, I use the word boring. That's not fair. They're boring in the sense that they don't cost you any money. They're actually pretty easy to do and they work. So yeah, let's go into what those things are. So, and you can do all of these things today. Now, I know you're going to roll your eyes. Just listen to me while I talk you through it. First one, hydration with water. Water is absolutely essential for our health, but it is especially critical when it comes to weight loss, hormone balance, and brain function. How many times have you wondered why your brain isn't working and you're like, oh my gosh, I've drank like 2 sips of water today. And I'm going to have some right now. So even a small amount of dehydration can lead to food cravings, put your hand up, fatigue, and even hormonal imbalances, making it harder for your body to shed those unwanted kilos, and you just feel tired and lacking in energy. So by drinking an adequate amount of water every day, you can support your metabolism, improve your digestion, and enhance your detoxification process, which is super important. What should you do? We want to aim to drink at least 8 to 10 glasses of water per day, and more if you're actually physically active or you're living in a hot climate. So maybe think about changing the way you consume your water. You want to start your day with a glass of water to kickstart your metabolism and hydrate your body after a night's sleep. Most of us, and I can put my hand up for this one as well, we run for the coffee machine and often we haven't taken our first sip of water until like 9 a.m. Let's shift the switch. Get up, even have your glass of water before whatever it is you do, whether it's eating or having a coffee or whatever. Have a glass of water and then deliberately get your water bottle prepped, and you want to aim to have like 70% of your water consumed by around 2 to 3 o'clock. Now, why do we do that? Well, if you start your drinking at like 5 p.m. and you're still going, you know what you're going to be doing all night, right? You're going to be getting up to go to the toilet. So let's try and get that water started early in the day. So how does it kickstart your weight loss journey? Well, proper hydration can help stop food cravings, and not just cravings, but reduce your hunger, boost your energy levels, and then support your body's ability to actually burn fat. So by staying hydrated, you'll feel more satisfied and less likely to overeat or seek snacks in between meals, setting the stage for successful weight loss. Now, number 2 is pretty important. It's important for absolutely everything. And I'm utterly exhausted today, which is why prioritize quality sleep at number 2 is a very pertinent conversation. Now, my cat likes to come and wake me up somewhere between 2 and 4 a.m. Now, this is not working for me, and it is something I'm going to need to do something about. However, I am terrible at going back to sleep afterwards. So today I've been awake since 2:20 a.m. I think, and it hasn't been a great day if I'm honest. I literally woke up this morning and I was just like, I can't wait until the day's over so I can go back to bed. Now, I have managed to still accomplish a few things, which is good, but what I have noticed is my mood is bad, I've got a sore throat, and my desire for food and volumes of food is significantly increased because our hunger and satiety hormones are negatively impacted by a lack of sleep. And sleep's one of those things we kind of poo-poo, like, yeah, I've heard it all before, like the hydration. But it plays an absolutely integral role in your weight management, your blood sugar regulation, and your hormone balance. You know, when you're sleep deprived, your body makes more ghrelin, which is that hunger hormone that we were just talking about. That's not helping because it makes us look for more food. And it decreases levels of leptin, which is the hormone that signals fullness. That does not sound like a great combination. This hormonal imbalance can lead to increased cravings, overeating, and weight gain. And it can disrupt cortisol levels and insulin sensitivity, making it harder for your body to regulate blood sugar levels and burn fat. So this is what happened to me when I alluded earlier to my first experience of this being when I was age 42, which is nearly 10 years ago. Guess what happened to me at that time? My daughter, who's now 11, but at the time she was only 18 months old and she had been sick for most of her life. She slept with me in my bed, and she would be awake every 10 to 30 minutes crying because she would be sick just constantly. So you can imagine that the sleep debt that I accumulated over that time and my cortisol dysregulation, I was in a really, really bad space. I was depressed, like properly, clinically depressed. Again, sleep deprivation. You can see the evidence of what it does. And my weight was stuck. I couldn't do anything to shift it. And that choice that I made to do calorie restriction and over-exercise actually just put more stress on my body, making it impossible to access those fat stores to move them on. And that was just before I started studying my nutrition qualification. Just right before, and I had that experience. And so those same mechanisms are relevant now. Slightly different situation that we're in, but sleep is absolutely integral. And I literally have this conversation with every single patient. And can I say, GenX ladies, perimenopause ladies, menopause ladies, we are the worst at sleep. We all stay up too late because we like that time at the end of the day to ourselves where no one's asking us for anything and no one's bugging us. But that's actually the time we need to be in bed. And the downstream effects of not doing that are all bad. So you need 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep, and you need a consistent sleep schedule and creating a relaxing bedtime routine. 7 hours is a minimum. So you need to reverse engineer that. If you need to get up at 6 a.m., then I'm going to kind of say I think 8 hours personally is a minimum. You've got to be in bed by 10. Now, if your body's telling you that you need a little bit more sleep, you've got to reverse engineer and go to bed even a little earlier. I can detect the eye rolls and the people in their minds going, there's no way I'm doing that. Well, the reality is if you don't, then you accept the consequences. And the consequences may be all the symptoms we talked about: weight loss resistance, insulin resistance, elevated cortisol, always battling, feeling hungry and cranky and irritable and brain fog and gut issues. And something has to give. That's just the way it is. I'm here to tell you the truth. So we want to create a sleep-friendly environment by keeping your bedroom dark, cool, and quiet. I'm personally not a fan of TVs in the bedroom. Here's a big one. Limit exposure to screens 2 hours before bedtime. Now, I battle with this one, so I get it, but we've got to do it. I'm holding myself accountable to this because I absolutely know that if I'm scrolling on my phone before bed, it massively impacts my sleep, both my ability to fall asleep, but then it contributes to my wakefulness throughout the night. It seems to, make me unable to find that deep sleep state. The screen or the light, which is the blue light, you would have heard of the blue light blocking glasses. Well, that light signals to your pineal gland in your brain that it's time to wake up, which means cortisol elevates, melatonin production goes down. And so if you have to be on your computer or on a small screen, you need to get some quality blue light blocking glasses. You want to avoid caffeine and food intake close to bedtime, as both of those can interfere with sleep quality. So you want to aim to finish 2 to 3 hours before bedtime and cease caffeine after 2 p.m. and earlier if you know you're sensitive. So this is a little sidebar. What I've noticed with my perimenopause ladies, particularly kind of age 47 up, is that caffeine sensitivity can really hit them all of a sudden. So people that were able to drink, 1 to 4 cups of coffee, no problems, find that they just can't do that anymore. And so you've got to tune in. Recognize that caffeine sensitivity can happen. There probably isn't a lot you can do to remedy it except stop, as in either reduce and see if you can cope with less, or stop if you need to. So by prioritizing your sleep, you're going to help to regulate those hunger and fat burning hormones, reduce cravings, and support your body's natural ability to burn fat, to access those little fat cells. Plus, you're going to wake up feeling refreshed and energized, unlike me today, making it easier to make healthy choices throughout the day because you are not battling against the ghrelin and the leptin hormones. And number 3, manage stress levels. Chronic stress can wreak havoc on your hormones, metabolism, and overall health, making it harder to lose weight and feel your best. And the other sidebar to that is, I don't know whether you've noticed, but it's definitely happened to me. My stress resilience, I reckon since about age 47, really feels like it's declined. And I don't think my stress resilience across the course of my life hasn't been, amazing. Like I've always had to manage myself quite carefully, make sure that I get rest, not too much, partying out, too many events, because it wears me out. And, we all have a limited amount of energy. You have to make decisions of how to spend that. So if you still have a lot, Great, I'm jealous, but I'm clapping for you. But even for you, you still have to make decisions about how are you spending that energy. And I have to do that too, because chronic stress, and it can be anything. Chronic stress can be insidious. Sometimes we're so used to it, we don't even notice that it's a problem, but it wreaks havoc on your hormones, metabolism, and overall health, and it makes it harder to lose weight and to feel at your best. When you're stressed, your body releases cortisol. We've talked about that earlier. It's a hormone that promotes fat storage, especially around the abdomen. That is not what we want. Additionally, stress can lead to emotional eating, cravings for high-calorie comfort foods, and disrupted sleep patterns, further complicating weight loss efforts. And I can tell you that today, because I'm absolutely exhausted, I have been looking around. My usual food intake just it's not quite cutting it. And my brain is looking for that dopamine hit of more food and foods that I wouldn't normally eat. I feel like a big slab of cake. And anyway, we just make ourselves busy to not do that today. But you can't battle that every day. It's too tiring. So we've got to sleep and we've got to address our stress. Many of us are so used to being so constantly stressed and anxious that we no longer even notice it, or we've accepted it and normalized it. But chronic stress is depleting you and contributing to hormonal imbalances, unwanted body fat, especially around your middle, poor sleep, fatigue, brain fog, unhappiness, poor digestion, exhaustion, overwhelm, and irritability. And you know what? Stress is the first thing I talk to. And in fact, stress and sleep are the first two things I talk to my patients about before I even talk about food. Why? Because I can give them the most perfect diet, but if they are chronically stressed, they're not going to properly break down their food, absorb the food, and get the nutrients they need. And they're inflamed, their guts are inflamed, their digestive system doesn't function properly. And, the downstream effect is that it can affect their hormones and their metabolism. So what are some of the symptoms of stress and overwhelm that you need to pay attention to? Constantly feeling like you're behind and rushing. Too many tabs open in your brain. Feeling out of control. Feeling anxious. Not necessarily about anything in particular, but just generally. Excess busyness or a sense of just getting through. That's how I feel today. Irritability and mood changes. So what are we going to do? Well, first you've got to stop. You actually just need to pause and take a minute, maybe go for a walk, and really evaluate. You are in control of what you include and exclude from your lives. It is a choice. Start talking about what you allow into your life as a choice, not just stuff you have to do. You get to decide. So declutter your life in the same way you would declutter your house. This includes toxic people, activities that you don't want to be doing, and other commitments that are using time and energy, both of which are a finite resource. And we need to change the way that we think about our lives. Have a review of your routine. Really consider what you want to be in your life and remove anything that no longer serves you, brings you happiness, or has purpose. And I understand that this can feel challenging because we might be worried about how other people are going to react to that. You are not in control of how other people think or feel, or even what they think about you. So stop trying to live your life and adjust your behavior and what you do to keep other people happy. It's an impossible task and it will wear you out. And we are already tired in our 40s and 50s. Sometimes we can just get stuck and need a gentle prod to make changes. And a gratitude practice. Don't roll your eyes if you don't already do this. The research and the evidence that supports how beneficial it is for our bodies is amazing. So meditate on 1 to 5 things that you are deeply grateful for. Bonus points if you do this while walking and breathing. Seek support from friends and family or a therapist if you're feeling overwhelmed by stress or struggling to cope with life's challenges. And incorporate stress-reducing activities into your daily routine, such as exercise, meditation, deep breathing exercises, yoga, or just being outside in nature. And you can find some yoga classes and a breath practice that you can do anywhere on my YouTube channel. And my YouTube channel is called The Posture Queen TV. I should be able to roll that off the top of my tongue, shouldn't I? So how does the stress management kickstart your weight loss journey? Well, by managing your stress levels, you help balance out your hormones. You reduce your cortisol production, improve your sleep, and optimize your gut health. You'll also enhance your overall well-being and your resilience, empowering you to overcome obstacles and stay committed to your goals. Incorporating these 3 simple strategies consistently into your daily life can have a significant impact on your weight loss journey, but all of those other symptoms that you've heard me harp on about. By staying hydrated, prioritizing quality sleep, and managing your stress levels, you will set yourself up for success while experiencing immediate improvements in how you look and feel. Remember, small changes done consistently can lead to significant results. So start implementing these tips today and watch your health journey transform. Well, that's it for me. I've got some client stories, but I might cover those on my next podcast. Thank you for joining me. It's been fun as always. And for more information about how you can work with me or what I do, have a look down in the show notes. That gives you links to my website and to my Instagram page and any other little resources that I'm posting in there. And I love to hear from people. So if you found this podcast beneficial, listening to my ramblings, or you're listening to me complain about how I feel today and you're like, oh my gosh, she totally knows how I feel, reach out. I love to hear from people. Just send me a, yep, I've got you. I know where you're living. But remember, it's all within our control. And so today, whilst I've had a rubbish sleep, I've made other good choices. I got to the gym. I didn't feel like going, but I did it. I did feel better. I've been focusing on my hydration, and I took a walk earlier as well, just 10 minutes because the sun's out. All of those things have helped me, at least stabilize my mood for the day. We're not reaching for the stars, and to be productive. And today, that goal was achieved. So again, I speak to you from the trenches. I'm going through this with you, and I think it's great to just show up on a day like today and record a podcast and just be real. I don't really relate to any of those people, to be honest, that are like, oh my gosh, I feel amazing all the time. I just eat, I eat 3 apples and I do some other thing and I take 53 supplements. I'm not that person. I don't relate to those people. And I think the people that come and hang out with me also, find this to be relatable. Not speaking from some lofty heights that seem so far away, but actual manageable strategies while we're in the trenches to do the best that we can, to feel the best that we can. And look, some days I do feel absolutely amazing, and other days I feel like a bucket of crap. And today is the latter. So here we are, doing the best that we can on the days that we don't feel amazing and making the best choices that we can on those days. And so, know that you're not alone and we're all in this together. And go back, do the 3 things. I know they sound so basic, but they do actually make a big difference. And great to be with you. I'll see you next time.